controls. Yeah. Welcome. Let's start.
Thank you and welcome. I live and work in Oslo, Norway. Oh, that's me. And as you might have guessed from my accent, I'm not a native speaker. I'm half French and Spanish, so I hope this will not disturb you too much during the talk. What we're going to see today, during this next 40-45 minutes, is what do we mean by re-engineer, and why did we need, or did we think we needed to re-engineer to redo QtWS controls in a different way. We also will see the new API, especially the styling API, but also how we try to make QtWS controls, or these new controls, more like real QtWS items, and try to understand what the QtWS is about and how we can make these controls work together with the rest of QtWS. And finally, we'll see a bit this in action with some coding demo. So why? The idea is that after we finished developing the current version of QtWS controls, we decided to try them on mobile. Those were developed mostly on desktop, and we decided to try them on mobile and then on embedded, but we even go even further down in performance. And we noticed that they were not performing properly. They was too slow, the memory footprint was too high. And okay, the first thing you would do is we profile, say, okay, there's this thing of memory that we don't need, so maybe we can get rid of it. So the first idea was to get rid of some features that were not needed. But then we saw that there were other issues. So we thought, what if we start from the beginning, from the ground up, and see what we need? And how can we change what we have currently into something new that would perform? Word of advice, this is all work in progress. So the main idea of the architecture will stay there, but the tiny bits of API and such will probably change. The goal is to have this as a tech preview for 5.6 and have a final product in 5.7. And to illustrate this, we're going to start with a button. This is the current QtWS controls button. As you can see, it's quite complex. Each of these green boxes there is a QML object. And so this is the implementation. This is not showing API at all. But you can see that the button implementation is this outer box that is a focus scope plus all that's inside. And that's the implementation. And then you have these other boxes, the dash boxes, the one that says control and basic button. This, let's call them type boundaries. So the focus scope that contains all that's in the control dash box, that's the actual control type. As you know, most controls in QtWS controls inherit this control type. And that's the one that takes care of loading the style and loading the visuals for your button. And actually, those visuals need to be added up to all this hierarchy. And it's these two colored rectangles you have there. So one is the label, the other is the background. And this is on top of all this. The next box, basic button, that's the basic button functionality. There's a mouse area because you click or tap on it and you have to do something about it. There's a case attached property because probably you have either you have a keypad and you want to navigate UI and trigger the button, or you use the tab key on your keyboard and you navigate there. There's also an action object that we thought, hey, why not add an action to the button because we can reuse this and it's a nice UI pattern or UI abstraction. So let's add it there. And you see you have this connection and state that are there just to support the action. As you would have code to support a feature, here you have these objects to support the action. And the rightmost column here is to support a single feature in button. And that's adding a menu to a button, as some of you know. By the way, has any of you, or most of you, used Qt controls yet? The current version. OK, good. So, as you may know, the button has a menu property. You can assign a menu to this property, and what will happen is that it will be reflected in the style, so probably the appearance of the button will be a bit different. And when you click or you activate the button, it will pop up this menu, and then you select, you interact with the menu as you would do with any other menu. But you still need all these objects here, whether you use the menu or not, to support the feature, to make it work. And this is quite a bit in contrast with C++, where if you want to support a feature, the penalty per instance would be maybe one pointer or one simple object, one simple box in memory. And then you will have the code that actually implements the feature. But this code is shared among all instances of that type. In QML, you get, even if you don't use the menu, you get the penalty per instance of all those objects here. So we started thinking like this, you can say we were finding excuses to get rid of things. So do we need a menu for every single button, knowing that it comes with a penalty? Well, most applications have at least one button with a menu somewhere, but those are really the minority of the buttons you find in an application. So we'd say, let's keep things simple and remove things we don't find fundamental. So this thing goes away. Same reasoning for the action. The action abstraction is very nice, but it's mostly useful when you have different ways of triggering the same action in the end. Like on desktop, you can have a global shortcut somewhere, a button in a toolbar that you can click, a menu item somewhere in the menu bar, and then you sort of factorize, refactor the action itself into a single object. But this is not the case. Again, we were thinking embedded UIs. This is seldom the case in embedded. Embedded UIs are very simple, just have one-to-one mapping, mostly because the display is smaller or the interaction is limited. So you only have one way of triggering one action. So this goes away too. Now, if you look here inside the mouse area at the top, you have a timer. That timer actually is for one feature on desktop, and it's to show tooltips. When you move your mouse cursor on the button and it enters the mouse area that corresponds to the button, it will start this timer. And if you do nothing and the timer triggers, it will show the tooltip. Again, this is for embedded, so maybe we don't need it right now. We remove it too. OK, so this is pretty minimal set of features, but we think it's good enough to have the notion of a button. But we wanted to go further. Like, for instance, both mouse area and keys attached property, if we were to implement them in C++, there would be basically no overhead per instance. It's just re-implement a few event handlers, and you're done. So we started thinking, what if we move things to C++? So we started with this. Mouse and key event handling, we move to C++, and we save 2 extra objects. And finally, again, thinking what an embedded application is and what are the usual needs for embedded application and platform development. Do we really need this complex architecture of loaders or multi-level loaders where you can swap things here and there, change completely the visuals of your button? Or do we want something that you define once, knowing that on embedded platforms, you're not going to change the style radically. Certainly, yes, you can have theming, like for instance, in a car UI, you will have this day and night theme where things turn dark on the night theme and lighter on the day theme. But this is just changing a few colors. You don't change the UI radically. It's just something you can do with a palette, for instance. So we thought that maybe we don't need all this complexity with multi-level loaders and so on. And what we could do is just take the visuals and assign them to the button, reparent them to the button, and the button knows that we have a label and a background, that the background should be behind the label by default, and then, again, if we do this in C++, we can really fine-tune the lifespan of these items. This is another consequence of doing things in QML, that if you don't know how long, or if you want to dispose properly of an object, what you do is a loader. And so here we wanted to support several levels of disposing of an object. We had several levels of loader. In this new idea we had, say, OK, we're not going to support such complex thing. We're just going to support attaching items or adding items to a button so that they will represent the background and the label for that button. And we take ownership of those. So if you assign something else, we will destroy what you currently have. And that's the rule. And it turns out that it's probably good enough. So we went from this to this. One single QML object with minimal API. We'll see in a moment this API. And there's another good news. Before, you had to support a lot of different use cases for your button. But now, since we removed all the API we didn't need, these items inside the button can be smaller. Let's see how this measures in performance gain, actually. You've probably seen this graph or similar numbers in JP's blog post a few months ago. This is creation time of different controls on an entry-level Raspberry Pi. Entry-level is a euphemism for relatively old. And, well, I let you guess which one is which. And if we put this log scale goggles, you will see that we basically have an order of magnitude improvement on creation time. And actually, memory consumption is about the same order. So let's see things a bit in more detail. We start with an empty shell, something we call right now templates, where we provide you a small set of features, and then you can fill in your visuals, your style, and so on. So what we provide is foundation API. The button, in this case, inherits also QQuick item. So you have sizing, positioning, anchoring if you use that. Is that button visible? Is it enabled? But we also provide the button API. Is it pressed? Does it have a click signal that would be emitted at some point? Does it even have, most buttons show some sort of text somewhere. So we also added, OK, let's add a text property so you don't have to. We also provide the behavior, something that behaves like a button. If the user clicks or selects with the keypad or something, it will emit the click signal. If it's just pressed, it will set the press property to true, and so on. And finally, an appearance API or a styling API. And these two small boxes there are just properties, placeholders for the style. In this case, for button, is just two small boxes for the background item and the label item. Notice that I said item. This is not components anymore. It's really an item. You have an actual instance of item. The button takes ownership of it and will destroy it if you assign something else to this item. So how does it work? This is a button. OK, very simple. The background could be rounded rectangle, could be a pix map, could be whatever you want. The label will be a text element. You define the color, define font size, even font family. And for the text you're showing in this text element, you just bind to the button's text property. OK. Other example, tool button. This would be more or less the same. Well, here the background could be empty and just shows through the toolbar, or it could be only visible when the button is pressed and show some shadow or something. On the label side, things get a bit more complex, because yes, we have the text property from button, and we can reuse it for this small label underneath. But what about the icon? And we will see in a moment, but actually we don't think we should provide any icon, because what should we provide? An icon name? Should it be an item you assign there? Will it be an image? Is this a pixmat? Does it come from? We don't know anything about this icon. However, you that are developing the application or preparing this embedded platform know what kind of icon you're going to use. So what we're going to provide is an easy way for you to bring in whatever notion of icon you have in there. OK, and as they say, if it quacks like a button, then maybe it's a button. And actually, this is a very common UI pattern on mobile, where you have a list of items, and you tap, and something happens. And sometimes you tap, and it drills down to something else, to another page, if it's in a stack view. So why not reuse the button to implement this sort of controls? And well, here, for instance, the background could be completely empty, and the small arrow moved into the label side. But the important thing is to know that maybe this control can be extended to understand that maybe it's inside a stack view, since we're using a drill down item, and do something by default when it's clicked. And you can maybe add API to reference to the next page you want to drill down. Last example, menu button. So that would be the same. Maybe the icon is there, and the label side, it doesn't really matter. But what matters is that we don't provide a menu property on the button. But you can add it yourself, and you can add the menu. And what you can do is that when you add a menu property to the button, and you want to add this menu, and you say, OK, on click, pop up that menu, what we can make is make it work well for you. But we're not going to make it for you. These few lines of code, that they should work, they should be easy to write for you. And that's where the direction we would like to go. Again, if you remember the previous huge diagram of the button, you saw that QML is a lot about aggregating things, putting things together. And once they're together, you cannot split them anymore. And that's where we want people, or the way we understand controls, is that you will have these small blocks. And as soon as you put them together, they will work well together, or they will be easy to make them work together. OK. Demo time. Let's see all this in action a bit. Here is a small QQuick application. This is just created QQuick, no controls, no nothing. I just updated the import statements, and we will see that one a bit later. But what we're going to do now is take one button customize it so that it looks as we want. And we'll see a couple examples like this and see how it works. So first thing, the import statement. This is in QtLabs, as I said, it's in is a tech preview 456. And this is the template. This is the empty shell, or not empty shell, doesn't sound that good, but saying it has nothing to show button. So it's the empty template where you're going to add the visuals on top. And we recommend to use, when you implement this, we recommend to use some namespace to avoid clashing, because as you can see here, you have already plenty of controls that are empty. They're not going to show anything, but you may want to override. And you don't want to have name clash in your application. OK. Let's call it button here. Set some text. Hello world. It's not very original, but let's do it something when it clicks. This is what I call just-in-time translation. OK, let's run it. Let's see what we have. Let's center it, because things look a bit better when it's centered. Centering. We run it, and surprise, there's nothing. There's nothing because this is the button template. It doesn't have any visuals to show. It doesn't have any size. If I try to click towards the center here of the window, more or less, there's nothing showing up. Nothing happens. OK, let's sculpt it and give it some visuals. We can start. Let's suppose I received some design documentation from Microsoft, and I need to implement a button. So it's going to be a rectangle, basically. We give it an implicit size. Implicit width. Here I'm making things quite large so that you can see them. Obviously, you wouldn't use such large button by default. It's just for the demo. Implicit height, 60, color. And this is how you bind. So if the button is pressed, so you don't have a style object anymore, a style data object. That was the equivalent for those who don't know QQ control style. It's the equivalent of QOption style in the current controls styling API. But you access the control itself, and you query for it. You bind to its state, and then you can have what you want. So let's use this light blue when it's pressed, and otherwise just plain blue. The label item will be just a simple text element. And what it's going to show is the button text property. Let me add a few lines here, so that, sorry. We need to define font size, the pixel size, what was that? This, color, white, and that's it. That's all we need to do for now. So let's run it. Still nothing. OK, let's change a bit the font size here and see, because sometimes white on white, or it doesn't matter. Oh, sorry, this. Run. OK, it's there. There is no background. There is some text, but it seems to be more or less centering, or the center of the window seems to be around this corner. And what happens is that we need to set the implicit width and height, so the implicit size of the button for it to get a default size. Right now, it doesn't get anything because we think it's better to delegate these things to people that are implementing the actual control. They know better than us what they need. So what we do is just add here, implicit width is going to be the maximum of the background. And notice that this background is an item. This used to be a component, so you cannot refer to it, or you have to go and find it in the hierarchy. Now it's an item, so you can directly access it and use its explicit width. Oh, let me add some padding too. This will be 20. And then the maximum between the background weight, implicit width, and the label. Here, same thing. The label is an item, so we can use it. Let me line break too. Implicit width plus the padding, plus twice the padding. Same for the height. This, replace all. Okay. So now what we see is that we propagate implicit size from the style items up to the actual control. And I will run it. Oh, obviously we're still blue and blue, sorry. White, and I forgot here to offset the text inside by the padding amount. And now when we run it, still not working because I forgot this button.padding. Now we have a button, and you can click it, and it says something down there. So success. We have a button, we can do something, we have something to show to the user. But now you will tell me, okay, do I need to do all this every time I want to use a button? No. You do the usual thing as you refactor your code. So you take this, remove it from here. We have already a push button type prepared here. You will put it like this. And here, instead of using this button, you would use this new push button type. And now when you run, it's the exact same thing. So you will reuse your design. So the novelty here, style-wise, is that the design is the item. Instead of being the design being something that you add to the item, you try to push inside the item. The design is the item. Okay.
Doesn't that not work because you have the ID of button used in the general type now?
Sorry?
Push button, you use the ID button now.
This one? Oh, I don't need it anymore. I have it here, actually, in the push. This is it's a bit small up there, but this is the push button.qml file, and we have the ID as well. The ID was here. So this will work the same. Okay. Now let's see another example. So I'm working at this company, and some decisions are made, and I say, oh, we found this set of icons is awesome, and we need a button to work this item, to show those icons. So what we have actually is these icons here. You can define the size. Let's make it quite large. You can change the color. You can, and then you can assign an icon ID to them. Let's call it this one. Okay, and then you show it. Yeah, we have these sort of things. But this is just an icon. This is just a visual. This is no button. But someone comes and say, yeah, we need this design with some text underneath, and that should be a button because we're going to use it in this and this place. Okay, so what we do? What we do is that we design, we can do it here. We design a new button on top of that. So we take button, again, our button template. And let me remove this for now. Let's call it button. And what we want is a label. We don't want background in this one. So just a label, and this label will be a column. Let's prepare already. Let me copy this from here and simplify it later. I'm just copying here the padding, a bit of code to save some typing, and actually can remove this. So we're already defining the implicit size of the button in terms of the label implicit size. But the label is going to be a bit more complex. Let's add the padding already. Oh, button that padding. And we'll have the text underneath. Font pixel size should be 20. The text is going to be our button text, property that we already provide. Color, let's do the same as before. If the button is pressed, it's going to be this light blue color. Otherwise, it's going to be just plain blue. Let's call it like this, ID text item. Let's run it. Oh, hold on. Oh, I haven't set any text. So this will be for the settings button, let's say. OK, we have this button. The icon is missing, and we're going to add it right now. So the icon, we want it above the text. So we take our icon object here, fi icon. And we know, yeah, we want this size to be 90. The color can be the same as the text item. Dot color, yeah, color. And we need a way of setting this icon. How do we do that? Well, very simply, we just add the property that's missing. So property. And since here, let me add an ID. Since here what we have is an actual item, we can go and alias all the way down so that we don't even need to care to know what the type of that ID is. Just alias it and call it icon ID, and we say that is the icon item, icon ID. So let me copy this. So as you know, you will make it work, and you would factorize this code and move it into a new file. So I'm going to copy this. So this is faiconbutton.qml file. It's, again, a bit small up there. And so let's see what we have here. We have a label, and the label needs an extra property. And what we do is we define it for this type. This special type of button supports an extra property, icon ID. And we know that we are going to use this icon ID with this particular icon object. So now if we, whoops. Now if we go back to our main file, we can use our brand new type. This ID, we don't need it here. And the icon ID will be this gear. And we can center it again. We run it, and we have a button. So that's one of the reasons why we don't think we should be supporting everything out of the box, but we should provide you with ways of customizing and creating the controls you need without the extra, again, the extra penalty of having a memory penalty for features you're not using. Okay. So this was, let me check the time. Okay. This was mostly, so far, about styling. But I said something more important earlier, is that we want QML, QtQuick and QML is about aggregating things. It's about taking blocks and making them work together. So let's see another aspect of this. This is not related to styling, but it's related to what I just said, how to make things work together easily and with minimum footprint. Okay, first thing, you may be wondering, okay, do you have something else that is templates? Because I don't want to have to start and code everything from scratch. So good news, yes, we have something that comes with a default look and feel, or default look, actually. We call it lab controls for now. It's a very simple style. It allows you to get started, and then you can tweak it. And for instance, it has a button. And this is one of the reasons that, and we try to map one-to-one. We don't add extra fancy features. We try to map one-to-one what we have in templates in these new controls, and just bring some style in it. And then you can use this as basis to start prototyping your application also. So if you set the text, you have it here. Okay, it's smaller because it's not designed for this, but this is what you have. You have a simple button. Okay, and we can see maybe quickly this example application where you have a few more controls, this slider, radio buttons, this is inside a stack view, so you can push, drill down, and so on. And it comes, with a few niceties, like we allow changing. It has this accent color, and you allow it to be changed, and so on. So it's pretty decent style. Very simple, but decent, and it gets you started somewhere. Okay, end of the digression. Now for the important thing. The good news in these new templates is that we killed the scroll view, among other things. And you tell me, oh, how come this is a good news? I need my view and some sort of scroll indicator or scroll bar, and what am I going to do? One of the main issues with scroll view and scroll bar when you implement them with QML is that this is a two-way thing, especially scroll bar when the user can drag the handle, and then this needs to be reflected as a change in position in your flickable, or the other way around, there's a mouse wheel event, and then this needs to be reflected in, in the scroll bar handle. And so you have these sort of two-way bindings that are hard to manage in QML. And it's a proof, if any, that there we were fighting the language. So all this, we moved down to C++, and now we have scroll bars that work easily, simply, and they're very light. But we went a bit further, and we say, do we really need this full-fledged scroll view? Can we do things simpler? Can we do things more QtQuick style? So let's suppose we have this gate here. Let's implement a list view now. And model, 50. And, this we need to anchor field parent. And this we can center in the parent as well. Horizontal center parent dot horizontal center. So if we run it, let me add some spacing. So this is quite trivial list view. It's just buttons, and that's it. And when you scroll it, yes, it scrolls and everything, but there's no scroll bar, no nothing. And we said, we killed the scroll view. Again, QML is about taking blocks and putting them together. So we came up with this new API. Never mind this T name, so this is something we need to fix inside the engine and will go away. But the idea is that you have this scroll bar attached property, and it has a vertical and horizontal property, sub-properties. And there you assign your scroll bar. Here we're taking the default scroll bar, and that's it. So we have a list view from one side, a scroll on the other side, and this attached property makes the things work together. Now when we run it, and we scroll, is it visible? Yes. You see you have a scroll bar, you can drag it, everything. So this is the second big idea of the new architecture of Qt controls. It's new styling API architecture and new ways of making things work together. Okay? The roadmap. As I said, tech preview will have this QtLabs import in 5.6 when it comes out sometime late November, early December. We are hoping to get a finished product for 5.7. Most likely, we will target embedded only at that point. And we think that we can take this and also move it into desktop and mobile space. Well, actually, it already works on desktop, as you just saw. It just doesn't have native styling. Whether will this coming later, we need to see how, but we will try to come up with something that eventually maybe replaces Qt controls. But this is already a bit far in the future, so don't take my word, and just let's see what happens. So that was it. Hope you enjoyed this presentation, and thank you for your attention.
Questions, anyone?
Yes? So on the ranking for buttons, a trivial example, but is there any penalty to just having some children on, instead of using the label to contain everything, is there a penalty just having children in that case and assigning them anchors as we normally would in QML?
Penalty as compared to what?
Well, so in the button example, when adding the icon, the contents of the button was entirely inside that label property.
Yes.
If you added a child outside of the label property as a sibling of label.
Yeah. Is that okay? Yeah, I think it's okay. But the point of these properties is that they take ownership of the item you assign to them, so they will get rid of it. And you could do it without that, but this is so that we have a non-ambiguous entry point in the API saying whatever you assign to this property, it's mine. That's what the button says. This is mine now, and I will destroy it if you assign something else. And it was to get this non-ambiguous API thing. Yeah.
Okay, so there's an advantage to using it.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
So maybe I just missed it, but what's the difference between label and background properties? And if there's no way to do two of them?
So, yes. He was asking what's the difference between label and background. The thing is that maybe we could try to shoving everything in the same item, but we think it gives some extra flexibility. For example, if you change the size, you will make sure things adapt independently. So that, for instance, the background may behave differently if you change the button size than the label. So it's to keep things simpler, and yeah, it's basically that. Or if you want to add something. Yes, exactly. Well, he lost his voice, I did. Okay, yeah, and there's also, yes, and I just say to go make things even cleaner in the sense that background follows the size of the item. And it's like the common styling API for all controls we have. That's every single control in this new architecture has a background item that you can assign. Okay.
Then thanks again.
Yeah, thank you.